In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the real costs of buying or selling a property. There are obviously financial costs when buying or selling a property, and it's important to run through those. However, we're going to come on to other costs you may not have thought about that aren't necessarily financial. When you're selling a property, the fees that you have to consider are, of course, your estate agent's fees and your solicitor's fees. They're the two main costs when selling a property. Now, I would argue that if you use a very good estate agent, the fee that the estate agent is charging isn't actually a cost. It's really an investment, because a good estate agent should not only generate the highest possible price for you, but also advise you all the way through on various elements. So the selling fees of an estate agent in the UK typically range from 1% to 2%. The better estate agents will be charging more. The estate agents that aren't as good will be charging less. Now, because they're charging less, they will have a lot more properties on their books to sell. Therefore, the service to their clients will not be what it should be, and that can definitely lead to a financial loss for those clients. Solicitors. Of course, you have to have a solicitor when you're selling a property in this country, and solicitors' costs again are similar to estate agents in that they can range wildly. So poorer, cheaper solicitors, maybe a few £100s. Solicitors that are dealing with expensive homes that maybe have lots of land and titles will be into the multiple thousands. And again, with the right solicitor on board, that's definitely an investment rather than a cost. But of course, you do have to factor it in to the sale price of your home. Other costs that you're going to have when you're selling your property that you need to consider are removals. Now, of course, this depends where you're moving to and also what service you're getting from the removal company. So some removal companies will pack up your entire house, move it to your new house and unpack it for you. That's the one I would go for if I was you, because it's a nightmare doing it yourself. Equally, you can go and rent a van and do it yourself, and there's every option in between, but that's a cost, a financial cost that definitely needs to be considered. You also need to think about cleaning and maybe storage as well. If you're moving abroad or you're moving out of the area or you're moving into a smaller house, you might want to think about storing some items in the meantime. So they are all the kind of financial costs, the main financial costs that you need to consider when selling. You do need things like energy performance certificates, but they are £80, £100. So in terms of main cost of selling, financially, they are the ones. Now, when you're buying a property in England and Wales, you have stamp duty to pay as well. So it's called SDLT, stamp duty land tax, and it's basically a tax imposed by the government, and it's a percentage of the purchase price of the property that you're buying. The government have recently brought in a change which will come in effect on the 1st of April 2025, but it's not a huge change, especially for higher end homes. So you really need to consider stamp duty. This can be an awful lot of money, especially at the higher end. You also need to factor in that if you own another property in the UK already, then and you're buying a secondary property or a third property, you will have to pay the higher rate of stamp duty, which is a significant cost. And we will put a link to a stamp duty tax calculator here for you to have a look at, where you can work out what it might cost you in tax. They're the sort of all the main costs really for selling and buying a property in this country. There's a few other things though that you may not have thought about, which I'd like to discuss. The two main things are overpricing and under marketing. If you have chosen an estate agent, and this may well be not something you've done deliberately, but if you've chosen an estate agent who has overpriced your home, and or under markets your home, this can have a serious effect on the cost to you. So under marketing a home will lead to less viewings. Less viewings will lead to either a longer sale time, which is more stressful, and or less inquiries, which will quite often lead to a lower price. Overpricing your home will lead to, again, less interest, less viewings, a longer sale time, and also the potential of having to reduce the property in price, which you never want to do if you can avoid it, because it doesn't send the right message out to buyers and ends up with you getting less than if you'd been realistic from the start. So 2 things to think about that really affect the cost of moving are overpricing and under marketing. Now, there's lots of other things that can be a cost to you that aren't actually financial. Now, it's very commonly known that moving home is one of the most stressful periods in your life. They say that having children and selling your home are the 2 most stressful things that you can do. So stress is a major issue when moving home, and it can be a real cost on your mental health. It can damage lots of other things as well. So it can damage how you feel, which can impact your family time. It may also impact your work as well because of how all-consuming it is. So this is another reason why choosing the right estate agent that will remove that stress to a degree is very important. And again, paying an estate agent who is good, who is very good, has got a good track record, more than one who isn't, is definitely an investment rather than a cost. Something else that's important to discuss is the fear of the unknown. So a lot of people who we sell for, when they put the house in the market, they don't actually know where they're moving to, which really can be quite scary when you think about it. So fear of the unknown, where are you going to move to? So you need to really make sure you've got all these things straight in your mind as best as possible, and you've taken advice of your estate agent before you commit to moving. Another issue that we have quite a bit that our clients have is an emotional attachment to the home they're selling. So a lot of the homes that we sell at Storeys are large family homes that have maybe been in the family for 30, 40, 50, 60 years in some cases. And people quite understandably have a huge emotional attachment to these properties because their children have grown up there. In some cases, it's the only home their children have ever lived in before they left home. Grandchildren raised there. Sometimes people have run a business from there. And there's a really strong emotional attachment to the property. So that can be quite a significant cost when moving, that you have to detach yourself from that property, and you will be passing it on to another family. So that can be a huge emotional cost. There's a few other things just to consider when you're moving. Things such as living costs. Are you moving to a larger property? If you're not downsizing, then you're upsizing. So you're going to have increased living costs, utility bills, commuting. Are you moving nearer work? Are you moving further away? How might that affect you? So there's lots of costs associated when moving home, but they're not all financial. So before you put your home on the market, make sure you select the right estate agent, but make sure that you're really in the right frame of mind mentally to embark on the journey. It'll be worth it when you get there, but there's a period in between where it might be tricky. So good luck. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for future videos. Thank you.